Da-da-da, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Da-na, na, it's a rivalry weekend. People are crapping the bed, and I love to see. Oh, I love to see it. Hey guys, Shake the Sports here. Absolutely happy, in a great mood, because teams are losing and fast. This is hilarious. Rivalry weekend at its finest, obviously. I'm going to go over the Notre Dame USC preview, but we'll get into some other games here. First of all, USC, Notre Dame. Should I preview that first? I don't know. Let's go over some of the other games, actually. We'll start off with Ohio State, Michigan. Listen, I honestly hate both these teams, and it sucks that one of them has to win. I've been hating Ohio State as the years go on, though. They are a very, they just seem to always win, and it's hilarious when they lose, honestly. They always blame the weather for them not playing well. Well, it was perfect weather, and they still played terrible. That was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, Michigan just dominated you. I don't think you're the better team. You got dominated. Who cares if there were big plays? There were still big plays. Too bad. You lost. And luckily, because everyone's losing around you, Ohio State's actually going to get in. Only to get absolutely road graded by Georgia. They're going to get boat raced by Georgia. That game will not even be competitive. I think all four teams in the 2018 and maybe the 2019 playoff too could beat any team this year. It's just so, it's gotten a lot more even, but there's no clear standout team. Every team has struggled immensely. Even Georgia struggled today. I know they won by a lot, but they struggled early. They were losing that game for a little while. They were only up by a field goal at halftime. I mean, Lord almighty. But yeah, Ohio State got absolutely killed. I mean, you had everything to play for. Listen, I get losing to Michigan last year. That makes sense. I mean, they had 15 years of revenge on their mind. But you guys lost again? This is a trend. Ryan Day, no coach. I mean, this guy has all the talent in the world. He can't even beat Michigan every year? Are you serious? Sad, and you lost to one of the worst, or you beat one of the worst Notre Dame teams in the past 5-6 years by 11 points. That game was competitive. Notre Dame was winning most of that game. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Yeah, Ohio State lost. They're going to get in the playoff. But, I mean, any expectations C.J. Stroud had of the Heisman are out the window. National title hopes, yeah, we saw that they can't do that. They cannot do that. No siree. And yeah, I mean, Michigan owns you now, pretty much. Ohio State is Michigan's property now. I mean, since COVID, you guys are 0-2 against them, so I don't know what's going on there, if the scripts have flipped or what. But Michigan won the ball game. And by a lot, too. That game was not... that game was... After halftime, man, that game wasn't in doubt, really, for Michigan. I mean, they never relinquished the lead. The closest to Ohio State came was when Michigan decided to kick a 54-yarder, which was very stupid of an idea. It didn't even cost them, though, because the defense and offense played so well, and it just seemed like Ohio State's secondary just got burnt to a crisp. And then once they turned themselves away from the run, they got burnt on the run, on the line of scrimmage. I mean, just Ohio State, their defense it got exposed big time. Ohio State's big problem is they can't defend against the run and the pass at the same time. They are incapable of it. They can focus on one thing at a time. When you ask them to do both, yeah, they're done for. That's not happening. And when J.J. McCarthy proved that he could throw it downfield and Ohio State had to respect the long ball, they got trounced. They got trounced with the run. And you want to know the funniest part? Blake Corum wasn't even playing. He's their best player. And you guys still got boat raced without their best player on the field. He is a Heisman contender. He had two, I want to say, he got the ball handed off to him twice, and then the backup came in and lit it up. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous from Ohio State. So congratulations on having one loss to your biggest rival this year. You're going to get trounced by Georgia in the playoff. To any Ohio State's fans that want to say, we beat you this year, I really don't care because Notre Dame is in they're in a down year, and they still almost beat you. That is sad. Is Ohio State regressing as a program? Question mark? I don't know. Sure looks like it this year. Who else do we got? Georgia obviously struggled. TCU, my boys TCU. Now, TCU is the Cinderella I'm cheering for. Listen, if there's any playoff caliber team that I want to win the playoff, it is TCU. And they keep winning. I mean, the game's not over against Iowa State. They're up by a good margin. Who knows? They got to close it out. But it looks like they're going to be undefeated going into the Big 12 title. And with all these teams losing, depending on what happens, they might be able to lose it and still get in. Obviously, TCU is going to want to win that game. I think it's pretty clear. But we'll see, man. I don't know. TCU is in a really good spot right now, fingers crossed. But I'm cheering for them. And listen, so many teams are losing around the country that people are saying they're not going to be able to win a playoff game. We'll see. I don't think Michigan is this unbeatable, godly program. And I don't think Georgia is either. I think Ohio State's just that bad. But either way, I mean, there's no, like, in the past, it was Alabama and Georgia the year before this. It's been Alabama in the past. LSU, I really expected them to win. But this year, there is no clear favorite at all. I think whoever Georgia plays as the 4 seed, they'll put up a good fight, except Ohio State. I think it's just clear to me that Ohio State shouldn't be in the playoff at this point. I mean, you lost your last game of the season. You got killed. In your last game of the season. And if it's between a Pac-12 champion, USC, and Ohio State, they're putting USC in my opinion. Especially if they beat Notre Dame by a lot. Now, obviously, as a Notre Dame fan, I want to beat USC. I hate USC and Ohio State. I hate half the teams in the playoff, honestly. I don't even like Michigan. But one team has to win that game, and it was Michigan. It is what it is. I'll be cheering for TCU, though, on that, obviously. I think TCU is probably going to be the 3 seed if they win out, and I think they'll put up a good fight. I don't think TCU is some pretender. Fingers crossed, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But, I mean, they've won every single... Listen, TCU is one of 3 teams to win all their games this year. Any other team that says they're a pretender needs to stop talking because they didn't win all their games. Unless you're Michigan and Georgia, you can't say anything about TCU. Because so far, they've won every single game they've played. Let that sink in. Doesn't matter how bad or good the teams are. They played Power 5 competition and have ran the table. And I know no one's debating whether... And listen, the reality is if they go undefeated, they're getting in. Nobody's arguing that at all. My argument is that TCU may be a playoff caliber team. Like, they can compete. Because you look around, TCU's sitting here like this, looking around, and they're seeing everyone beat each other up. There's no clear frontrunner this year. There's not. I think a 2018 Notre Dame team that made the playoffs in 2018, I think they could win the national championship this year. And I'm not saying that, and that's not, you could take any team from that playoff. I'm just saying that I think the competition has got so even this year that no team is, like, super amazing. And I think that's great. I think that's great for college football because for once in my life, honestly, I have not, there's no, like, there's no team where it's like, oh, there they go. You know what I'm saying? Or 2 teams where I say, oh, there they go. Georgia has struggled a lot this year. There's no guarantee they're getting past the first round. Michigan, they barely beat Illinois. These teams have struggled this year. These teams have struggled, and so is TCU. So is TCU. I'm not saying they haven't, but if these other teams have struggled as well, why is TCU the team that has no chance? Especially if they haven't even lost a game. It's just my 2 cents. But yeah, that game obviously, and then, oh my goodness. You want to talk about this one. This will be the last one we talk about, and then I'll get into the USC Notre Dame prediction and preview. Because, Clemson, you lost to Spencer Rattler? You lost to Spencer Rattler? Yeah, you know how I was saying each team was beating themselves up? Yeah. Clemson, you just lost yourself a playoff ticket. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Clemson. They had a good shot, too. Listen, if they could have just taken care of business, they should have beaten Notre Dame. Notre Dame killed you. They road graded you. That game was never in doubt. That game was never in doubt. You scored 2 garbage touchdowns. Game was never in doubt. We absolutely destroyed you in every facet of the game. Special teams, blocked punt. Offense, we destroyed you on the ground and with the pass. And the defense held you to 0 points when it really mattered. And now you lose to South Carolina and Spencer Rattler. That is pathetic and depressing. And Tennessee are in the same boat. Tennessee, at this point, Tennessee had a free ticket. I mean, those 2 teams have to be the biggest losers in terms of just disappointment. I mean, all they had to do was win against not very good teams. The second week in a row, South Carolina knocks out a playoff contender. They say, bye-bye. See you later, Clemson. And Clemson's out. There's no beating North Carolina and getting into the playoff as a 2-loss conference champion. Come on. Are you serious? No. They're done. So we'll go over the scenarios now. That leaves Georgia, Michigan, TCU, 3. Ohio State, our buddies at Ohio State, 4. Brian Kelly and LSU, 5. Right? LSU, Ohio State, Georgia, TCU, Michigan. That's 5. And USC. And someone else? Our good friends at Alabama. Alabama has a path. Yep. Alabama has a path. Maybe. Let's go over the scenarios. We'll see. Alabama's 7 right now. They're 7th. Georgia's going to win out. Michigan's going to win out. Those 2 spots are pretty much locks at this point. We've said all season that Georgia's pretty much in since like week 6 or 7 after they beat Tennessee. And we've said that the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game is getting in. And unless Michigan's losing to Purdue in the Big Ten championship, which I don't think they will, they're getting in. And I think they probably still will even if they lose that game. So those 2 are locks. TCU, let's say they win out. There's 3 teams right there. We'll say every team wins out. So that's really and we'll say every team wins out and LSU loses in the conference championship, so just eliminate them. That's gonna leave Georgia, TCU, and Michigan. They're in the playoff. Ohio State, USC, Alabama are gonna be fighting for that spot. If that's the case, Alabama's eliminated. They're not getting them. They're not getting past Ohio State. They're not getting past USC. A 1-loss USC who has won their let's say they win out. They win their last 3 games against ranked opponents. And then you have an Ohio State team that hasn't won a conference championship and lost their last game against a ranked opponent, and they got killed. They're putting USC in. I don't think there's really any debating that. Ohio State may be the better team. Maybe. But I don't see how the committee leaves USC out, especially with that conference championship. Same amount of losses. USC finishes off the season super strong. Both have wins over Notre Dame. And maybe if they beat us by more, we'll see. But USC would be in my opinion. Let's say USC loses. If USC has 2 losses, they're done. They're done. That's going to leave Michigan, Georgia, TCU, and Ohio State, pretty much. So if USC loses, pretty much, it's just going to be Ohio State's going to get in, pretty much. Because Ohio State's done. Ohio State can't lose or win any more games. Their record is what it is until the committee sees them. Here's where things really get shaken up. Michigan wins out. TCU wins out. Georgia loses to LSU in the conference championship. That scenario would put Michigan 1, TCU 2, probably, maybe 3, LSU 3 or 2, whichever way you want to split it, and Georgia 4. That would leave the Buckeyes out, no matter what. If LSU, what the path has done for LSU now, the path, especially with Clemson out, the path is now cleared for LSU, in my opinion. If USC loses, I think if LSU wins out and USC loses, there's no debate they are in. If there's a direct comparison between LSU and Ohio State, LSU is getting in. If there's a three-way between LSU, USC, and Ohio State, how many spots would be up for grabs? Just one spot. Then they might lean towards USC. That's going to be a very interesting conversation. I honestly don't know. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing to all you Buckeye and LSU fans out there that are saying we would win the argument against USC. Look at USC's 1 loss, and if they went out. They had a 1-point loss on the road at Utah, where Utah got a 2-point conversion to win the game. It doesn't get closer than that. Ohio State's worst loss and LSU's worst loss, you can't have a worse blowout than that. I mean, they got blown out. Blown out. So, I think USC wins in that scenario. Now, USC is going to play Notre Dame tonight, and all this of me hyping up USC may not even matter, because we might beat them. And that gets into my question here for you guys, the audience, and myself that I'm going to answer. Will Notre Dame beat USC? It's a good question. Personally, as an unbiased fan, you want me to answer this. I think Notre Dame gets the job done. I think the Irish pull it out. And I really hope they don't disappoint tonight. Notre Dame, if they want to win, the keys are to limit the turnovers on offense, create turnovers on defense, and special teams needs a boost like we've done all year. We've blocked a punt in half our games, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe even more. I think it's even more than that. I think Notre Dame's got the best special teams in the country in terms of flipping momentum like this. And they're going to need to do that a lot. Caleb Williams is solid. I think he's a great quarterback, and they have a great offense. But there's nothing more I would like to see tonight than for the Irish, in a down year, to absolutely smack USC around. Smack them around. Show Lincoln Riley it's not going to be easy playing this Irish team every year. Show that in your first year. He's a first-year head coach, too. There's no excuses. None. Notre Dame needs to show up in LA, get their business done, walk out 9-3, and eliminate the Trojans while they're at it. That's what they need to do. Drew Pine needs to have a day. Logan Diggs needs to have a day. Tyree needs to have a day. And the special teams needs a big boost. If they can do most of that and, take care of the ball, don't do anything stupid, I think this team is right there in terms of how well or how good USC is. I think Notre Dame is clearly a top 10 team in college football right now. Right now. Right now. Not yesterday. Not back when we lost to Marshall. Not back when we lost to Stanford. Right now. I think they are a top 10 team and it is clear. And they can get the win. They can. They absolutely can. My final score prediction, and this might be a shocker, I'm going 45-41 Notre Dame. Look at Notre Dame's past 4 games. They've been putting up numbers on offense like I have never seen under Brian Kelly. I have never seen that under Brian Kelly. And Marcus Freeman, a former defensive coordinator, is putting up those numbers. Thanks to the special teams, turnovers on defense, and quick and efficient offensive drives. That is what has been helping the Irish in these past 4 games or so. They're coming off a massive win at home to close the season against Boston College. And they look to keep it rolling against the Trojans, and I think they will. I'm going to be doing a halftime report most likely unless nothing crazy happens, and there will be a final score report to end off the season. Thank you guys, Jake to Sports, signing off. This game will be starting soon, and the Irish need to play good, clean football to end this regular season. See you guys.